Thing, the most mysterious member of the Addams family. This has left all of us with a lot of questions. In the Wednesday show, we finally learn where he came from. But what if I told you that this isn't his whole story? What if I told you that he actually has multiple different backstories spanning years, each one crazier than the last? Well, in this video, we're going to go through his entire life story and uncover all the secrets behind him that you've never known before. So let's dive right in. Thing, or his full name, Thing T, is a dismembered hand belonging to the Addams family that dates back to 1954. He was first introduced in the comic book series The Addams Family, created by artist Charles Addams. But here's the catch. When Thing was first introduced, he wasn't shown as a hand, or even as a person at all. Instead, his name was simply written on a sign. In front of the Addams family mansion, there was a sign that read, "Beware of Thing." And this was completely intentional. The creator, Charles Addams, wanted to make readers curious about what Thing actually was, and it worked. Many fans couldn't guess what it might be. The reason was simple. All they saw was the sign. Yet most people assumed it was something dangerous, likely deadly. Fortunately, fans eventually got their answers. Over time, Charles started creating more and more comics, and Thing began appearing in various forms, sometimes as a full arm, sometimes as two separate hands, and sometimes even as a shadow lurking around. Now, you might be wondering, was he a real person back then? Well, in these comics, it's hinted at. In some illustrations, you can see him as a young boy lurking around the mansion. Usually, he would peek his face from the top of the stairs or sometimes out of the windows, only when no one else was watching. Although we don't see much of Thing in those images, it could suggest that at one point he had a full body. However, there's just one problem. Even though it's never officially confirmed, there were rumors that Thing actually had 8 legs, which would explain why we never see his complete body. If this is true, he probably was always too shy to reveal his real self, only peeking around secretly when no one was looking. From what we do know, he got the name Thing because, technically, the family could never fully identify his true form. Whether the family ever saw his full body remains a mystery, but what we do know is that Thing has always remained loyal to them, no matter what happens. Much like now, it seems his main purpose in life has always been to serve the Addams family in any way he can. And these comics really mark the beginning of his incredible journey for the future. Fast forward to years after the release of these comics, and Thing finally made it to television. In the 1960s, the Addams Family TV series aired, and that's when Thing truly became a fan-favorite character. Played by Ted Cassidy, who also portrayed the butler, Lurch, Thing was brought to life simply through his hand. Inspired by the comics, Thing was depicted in the show as a hand emerging from various boxes around the mansion. However, filming these scenes was extremely challenging. Ted Cassidy stood at 6'4", 192 centimeters, and every time scenes for Thing were filmed, he had to lie on his back and slide his hand up through the bottom of each box. Sometimes it was genuinely uncomfortable for him, mainly because he was so tall. But he did it and truly made a huge sacrifice for the role. Now, as I mentioned, Cassidy also played Lurch, the butler. So whenever there were scenes involving Thing, there was a small challenge because he couldn't play both roles at the same time. Whenever a scene involved both Lurch and Thing, another actor's hand would stand in for Thing. For those scenes, they usually brought in different crew members. This way, Lurch and Thing could have some very funny interactions together. However, Even though Thing was performed by Cassidy and other actors, none of their names ever appeared in the credits. Instead, Thing was always credited simply as himself at the end of each episode, making him even more mysterious. Little details like this really made fans fall in love with him, and overall, no one had ever seen anything like him before. On one hand, he was meant to be scary and creepy, but on the other, funny, gradually developing into a character that fans became deeply attached to.